Miss Universe podcast.
Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here?
Miss Universe podcast.
Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here?
Miss Universe podcast.
Hello and welcome to Emma's podcast. In today's podcast, I'm recording my 3 podcasts back to back to back. That's what I do. I'm inspired, so let's do that. No idea what we're going to be talking about today on our podcast, so we're going to go with the flow and continue a little bit of the conversation on the entrepreneurial mindset. You know, experiences will lead us where we need to go, even in face of challenges. And being driven by our dreams or intentions, because at the end of the day, what we got to do is what kind of intentions do we have? It's always something that is amazing. Now, having a mindset for entrepreneurship requires also leadership, because one of the biggest issue we have as leaders is how can you communicate effectively to your employees? How do you effectively communicate to your family? It's not only employees, it's everybody. In a previous episode, I talked again about communication, because one of the biggest things I've seen and witnesses since day one I went in corporate was communication. Nobody communicates. Everybody keeps hush secrets, but no one communicates their intention properly, or most people, should I say, because I cannot say everybody, but most people don't know how to communicate. Wanting, dreaming, or being in leadership positions requires us as well to have an open mind. I explained about the podcast and how I went from being behind the microphone to live streaming and communicating with different individuals, which to me, again, if you really want to improve your communication, go on Wisdom App. And they don't pay me to say that, by the way. But I always encourage everybody, when I go on Wisdom, which is once in a while now, live, I always encourage people who are brand new and pop and wants to talk to me. The first thing I ask them to do is take a leap of faith and start your live show. This will help to improve your communication skill sets. And it takes a while to do that. Being able to open ourselves up and communicate with people that we don't know who they are. We can agree with them, we can disagree with them, but this is how we improve our communication skill sets. I sing quite often when you get your little clique in corporate within your department, people of the same mindset will stick together instead than taking people on the opposite side that they will never talk to. It's a great exercise to do because it really teaches you to speak with everybody. Now, your leadership mindset is something that's going to carry along. And I have saying for years and years, the cancer starts at the top, meaning the way you act as a leader will have a ripple effects in the entire company. So if somebody is a great leader, everybody will walk on water, everybody will be inspired. There will be issues, but they're easy to resolve. Everybody lives in a harmonious fish tank. When you introduce chaos, and we are seeing it, I'm not going to name names, she's appearing on every single news outlet because of poor leadership, and seeing how much revolving doors are opening over there for that charity, there is an issue with the leadership. We talk about narcissists, self-centered individuals, which is extremely dangerous when you got those individuals on the top of the food chain. I'm going to even talk about a story I've not spoken many years ago. That was my last, I believe, Club Med that I did. And I got, because after that I left. It was in Italy. I was in the mountain. I should stay in the mountain and say I'm not doing it because I was closing one village because there are some seasonal village and there are some that were open year around. And I was called on to close a seasonal one in the mountain after I was done coming back. I think I was coming back from Portugal, going back to Europe, to France, and be in the Alps and then back in Italy. And that man was the typical narcissist, to the point you could see in his face. You could see the madness in him. It was very scary, and I believe he was beating up his wife on the top of it too. So that wasn't good. But the way he run the I don't think he's there anymore. I hope not. But the way he run his village was pretty bad, to the point that everybody were feeling the heat, independent which mood he was. And with the chief of sports, who was as narcissist than him, it was just not pleasant at all. And looking at the leadership from those two, it came down to everybody else's where we could feel the heat, literally. It was pretty bad. I did not stay long. I had an injury that happened, thank God, and I got sick. So I went back to Europe, and it took me a year to recover from that crap. When we discovered I had an autoimmune disorder that the switch went on instead of staying off. So during that time, you could feel the sense of terror. You never knew on which mood neither one of them were every morning, and you were praying to God they were in a good mood. But you could see how it impacted everybody else's. Leadership is something that to me is and should be cultivated, should be open, should be communication, and also learning. Businesses should have, and I'm not talking small businesses, because small businesses, when you come, you learn as you go. It is what it is. But when you start to grow to the $1 million I'm talking about, then you need to invest into your leadership. Meaning, and I had I have to share other stories on that, but we will share it another day on that too, which is about how to choose the perfect coaches. Because I've seen company that have membership to the thousands of dollars for people, for CEO, president, for networking, whatever the deal is. And at the end of the day, they get ripped off and they're wasting their time because they're forcing them to put some system and processes in place that doesn't match what they're doing. It's like, again, forcing a square into a triangle. Doesn't work. But that will be another conversation. But when it comes down to development, leadership, she should be a requirement for every single company. And I don't care if you have an MBA, a PhD, whatever title you've got, I don't care. It's not about the title. Because I have spoken to people who have PhD, they were incapable to communicate properly. They had no idea how to lead teams, and they were directors, VP, senior VP, and you're like, how did you get there? Because of a diploma, not because of a leadership competency. So they should, when you have a leadership team, you should have people teaching them, coaching them. To me is essential, because I have seen the horror stories where I always said the cancer start at the top. I had some people who were director, they could not even be VP. They were directors and nobody wanted to promote them because of the lack of communication. They did the promotion because somehow over the rainbow, Emma decided to make $1 million of savings, and they took credit of it, which is fine because I don't give a crap about that, and end up to be VPs. But their communication skills were horrible and still horrible because nobody want to invest in leadership. We all have a different style when it comes down to communicate, when it comes down to lead. Some people are great leaders and some are pretty bad. But you have to look at the leadership. How does it affect everybody else's? And that, to me, is something that should be done in a more mindful manners. People should not feel they have that God sent that they can lead anybody because they want the title or anything like that. So it is wiser when you or I move up into the ladder, including as a CEO and president, to have somebody that can coach you and help you on how to communicate. We all, like I said, we all have a different style. I have a different style than you do. But are you open to be more mindful? Are you open to listen and hear out what's going on? Or do you live in your bubble that is so deep and thick that you see nothing and you're not helping the company? Because at the end of the day, it's about the company. How can you grow and move your company to the next level if you got a bunch of kids in your leadership team who spend their time to fight each other? Where there is resentment, jealousy, oh my God, this one do this and this one do that and blah, blah, blah. He's the golden boy and blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. It's how do we see ourselves and work together. I don't have to like you to work with you. And I work with people, I wasn't fun of it. But I was able to work with them because I removed the emotion from it. The deal was, we're not going to be best friends. We're not going to go and have dinner or spend holidays together. But we're going to be communicating effectively in order for us to get this rolling. If you don't, then you're screwing up the company. You're impacting the company in a negative way. So for leaders, how to be mindful in leadership is to learn to surround yourself with people who are capable, not the one who's going to, I'm going to have a coach that's pay $50,000. At the end of the day, you learn nothing and some ridiculous things are outdated. No, do your homework. Pick up the right coach. But you have to be mindful because when I talk about Steve Jobs, and as I said, I'm a huge fan of Steve Jobs for the reason that he pushed everyone from leadership to the person who's the engineer who's trying to figure out the design on how to make the phone, on how to make this and that, blah, 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 whatever items they had, or they have actually, to improve it. He challenged everyone. Oh, yeah, he's a mean guy. No, he wasn't a mean guy. He was somebody who set the bar higher. Now, he never sat in a room by himself and said, okay, we're going to do this, and that's how it's going to run. He had his team, and he was talking with them, brainstorming, and he never took no for an answer because he had a vision. So they had to find that solution. That's the difference. So think about where you are in your life and looking at leadership. And leadership is not only in business, but look at your personal life as well. Because people say, well, when we talk leadership, it's always, no. There is an impact in your life because what you run in your home, you run it at work too. Yeah, exactly. Think about this one. So when you improve your leadership at work and learn more, there is a transformation you're going to do that will impact at home in a positive way. So this should be mandatory. Every company past $1 million, let's say $2 or $3 million in revenue, should have a leadership coach that should do an assessment of where we are with everybody. Do I have the hardest part for people to understand is this person in leadership is in the right place? I had people, and that was a small company, where I'm shaking my head. I'm like, that person is in marketing. She was doing nothing. She wasn't helping. She wasn't doing nothing except running around and whatever. But she wasn't managing the team properly. She wasn't moving to the next level. Then you got one who was part of the development. He was the golden, quote unquote, they call him the golden boy, who was doing everything they wanted to do. He was kind of running his stuff properly, but he had his little thing on the side. But you could have come up with an idea, and it would have helped to transform this idea on something concrete. Then you got somebody else's who wanted a piece of that little cake. But she wasn't helping either the company. So you had a dysfunctional team in leadership who were fighting all of the time, wasting time for everybody else with their drama. And they got the wrong coaches on the top of it. I had a blog, What Makes You a Great Leader, or something like that. I wrote about it, and I believe I did a podcast as well, so search for it. But it's ridiculous when you realize if it's too dysfunctional, then you need to stop. I know some president and owner of companies don't want to, I don't want the scandal. I don't want the drama. Well, you know what? You got to accept those responsibility as well. And some decisions are going to be pleasant and some are going to be totally unpleasant. But you're going to have to make the right decision, what is best for the company. That individual was pretty much, I would call it, a coward. He did not want any confrontation. He wanted nothing. So he let everybody manipulate him, and that was it. Did they want anywhere? No. He had, in order to save his company, somebody went and bought it. He still ran the company as an extension of the other company, the mother company, basically. And that company, when I walked in, I said, this is a $50 million company. They barely were at $7 million. I said, something is wrong. I sat down. I got my interview. And luckily, I met the president last. Because I said, I would have met him first. I would have walked away. I would have not taken that job. At all. At all. And when I was there, they moved from, I was 7-8 million to 12 million within less than a year. It was their best year they ever had. And they wanted to do for 2020, they wanted 20 million by 2020. Okay? So you make a big jump of about $4 million. Could have been feasible. Except Emma left. Yep. Walk. No more Emma. Guess what happened? They went from 12 to 7 million. What's wrong with that? I don't know. Leadership. You have to look at what you're doing. Communication. Nothing shall be top secret to your employees. Except if there is layoff or if there is difficulties, then you need to explain this. You know why? Because people will stick in your company if you're honest. That company follow some ridiculous guidelines that all of a sudden in the beginning when I was there, they were communication everywhere. Then they stopped talking. That started to make the few people in the office nervous. I did not like that because they were hiding things where things could have been resolved. They were not open. That's why he tanked. Leadership. If you're not a good leader, if you don't know how to be mindful, if you need to improve, we all need to improve. It's not about one person, the best one in the world, because that's when your ego is talking a little too much. Look at what you're doing. Leadership. Learn. You got some free YouTube videos on leadership. You can listen to me talking. You got other great people who you can learn great stuff. Oh, I know, if I'm not part of a big company, blah, blah. You know, I work with different business owners, different companies, and I really appreciated the few that once in a lifetime, once in a decade, I will have somebody who's a great leader. Come across natural born leaders. The rest of it, not so much. Why? Because we need to improve. Why? Because somebody is rolling over a leadership seat, but is not and doesn't have the proper toolbox to do that. Some coaches, like I'm going to talk to about Ross Swan, who I know 4 years, and is a fabulous coach who have helped turning around a lot of leaders that were one foot at the door. And their entire group could not stand that leader. And the leader humbled himself. They did. And they became the best leader into their business. Why? Because they learned to change their behavior, their patterns. Like I said, the cancer always starts at the top. It's not the employee. The employee is receiving the effect of how do you treat the employees, the managers. How do you behave? I have seen billion-dollar company, threatening their employees, and I saw it on the front of me several times. Telling them, well, the grass is not greener on the other side. You will not find anything better. And they treated you like that, treated them like crap. But they were protected by the VP. So HR could not do anything, which is even worse. Imagine that for a minute. And that happened quite often on many companies. Accountability should be part of it. But it starts at the top. Leadership. So this was our podcast for today. I know I'm inspired about leadership and about all of this. So I think the next one, which is the last one for the week, we're going to be continuing to talk in the direction of leadership and how we treat people. Because what you do at work, you do it at home, by the way. Most people do it at home. Unless you can flip a switch, which I have done, from one way to be at work, and at home I'm a different way. That I've done that because if it was pretty bad at work, I didn't want it to bring the garbage in my house. So I always made sure when I came back home, I was relaxed, so I did not took it on my dogs or anybody else's, actually. And I was mindful for it because I did not want them to have the effect of the negativity they don't deserve, or nobody deserved it at all. So walking around, self-care helped me to do this. But you really have to be mindful. Like I said, whomever is listening to this podcast, one, spread it to other people so they can understand. I need help. I need a couch. I need a couch to sit on it too. But I need a coach. I need somebody, and not a stupid program who costs thousands of dollars, but somebody I can talk who will focus with me once a week at least, giving me homework to do in order to accomplish what I need to get it done. And I can guarantee you can turn around a team from something horrible to something wonderful when people are open to do it. And for people who are in leadership, it is not a punishment. It's an opportunity to excel. That's the huge difference. Excelling at what you do. So when you're learning, not only you getting more in your little toolbox you can utilize, but by the way, if you decide to go and work for another company, then you are ready to go, which means you will be even more successful. Think about this. Remove your ego from the equation. Do the homework to improve. Remove those patterns and bad habits you've got because you think you're the best one. No, you're not. There is always room for improvement for everyone, including myself. But you have to be open for the transformation. That's the key. Be open for the transformation. If you are not open, you're going to go nowhere. So, oh boy, that sounds like a... sounds like a high school teacher scolding everybody. I'm not scolding, but I'm reinforcing this because for me, and I'm passionate about it, because people can go and do such transformation that will impact not only the business, but their family home as well in a positive way, really teaching everybody something. So when you start to change your pattern, remember, it's like the stone hitting the water on the lake. The ripple effects are unlimited. It will affect everybody in the world, believe it or not, one way or the other. So that was our podcast for today. Don't know what we're going to be talking on our next podcast because I have no clue, even though I'm recording them back to back. That's all good. If you have any feedbacks, please let me know. I will put my YouTube channel and the school and the classes and the audiobook I have as a shortcut in there as well. So if you need to reach out for this, if you have any question, if you want to connect with me, you can always connect with me as well. There is different way to do it. Go on my website. You can reach out to me via LinkedIn. I like TikTok because I talk a lot about my doggies and the word of the day on TikTok. Insta, there is different ways. So if you need comic with me, I would be more than happy to talk to you. All my love. Bye now.
Where do we go from here?
Amy's Universe Podcast.
Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here?
Amy's Universe Podcast.